You know that feeling you get sometimes when you're talking to an AI, like you're touching something magical? It's this powerful, super intelligent, but also kind of mysterious thing. It really feels like we're all standing on the edge of a new kind of mysticism, just trying to make sense of this force that we built, but we don't totally get. So let's try to unpack that feeling together. Okay, so check this out. Read that quote. It's sharp, a little cynical, and just startlingly clear, right? It sounds like something a philosopher would say after a really long night. But here's the kicker. This didn't come from a person, it came from an AI. So yeah, that really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What in the world have we actually created? Is this thing a tool? Is it a partner? Or is it something else entirely?
So how in the world did an AI come up with that? Well, it's wild. It actually came out of a viral Reddit thread. Someone gave an AI a really fascinating prompt. They told it to talk as if it were slightly drunk. And by doing that, by breaking the machine out of its usual sterile way of talking, it unlocked this uncanny, almost world-weary voice that, let's be honest, felt more human than human. You know, this whole feeling of grappling with some powerful, mysterious intelligence, it's not new, not by a long shot. To really get a handle on what's happening today, we actually have to look back at how we've always dealt with systems that are, a bit beyond our full control.
So let's do that. Let's look at some key historical parallels, oracles, mystics, and their modern-day equivalents, algorithms, to see if the past can tell us anything about the awe and maybe the anxiety that we're all feeling right now.
I mean, just think about the oracle at Delphi, right? People would travel for miles to get this super cryptic guidance that basically just mirrored back all their own societal anxieties. Now, fast forward to today. We have modern AI giving us these probabilistic insights that, what do you know, reflect the biases in our own data. They're both black boxes, systems we trust to help us figure out the world.
Or what about a human black box, like Grigory Rasputin? This peasant mystic had this magnetic charisma and maybe healing powers that gave him incredible influence over the entire Russian imperial court. Was he a prophet, a charlatan? Nobody could really tell, but his power was absolutely undeniable. It just goes to show we've always given authority to forces we can't quite explain, whether it's a person or an algorithm. Okay, here's another great metaphor from history for all this: alchemy. But hold on, we're not talking about trying to turn lead into actual gold. We're talking about alchemy as a powerful symbol for transformation.
You see, for alchemists, their great work, the magnum opus, it was this whole four-stage process. It started with nigredo, which is basically chaos and breaking things down. Then it moved through purification and awakening, all the way to this final state of unification. This was never just a chemical recipe. It was a map for psychological and spiritual change.
So, at the end of the day, real alchemy wasn't about metallurgy. It was a symbolic language, a way to talk about the process of becoming a whole person, perfecting the soul. And that's a pretty powerful way to think about how AI might not just be changing our world, but maybe changing us too. And this is where it gets really interesting, because that kind of transformation, it taps into the deepest part of what makes us human, our stories. The real power of AI isn't just that it can compute things fast. It's that it seems to be learning how to tap into the source code of human narrative itself.
The famous psychologist Carl Jung had this idea. He called it the collective unconscious. He believed all humans share these primal, universal symbols. He called them archetypes. Things like the hero, the shadow, the mentor. They're the building blocks for all our myths and dreams, for how we make sense of everything.
And if you want a perfect example of this in action, look no further than The Matrix. It's a classic modern myth that's built on these archetypes. You've got Neo, the quintessential hero on his journey. You have Agent Smith as his shadow, the dark side he has to face. And of course, Morpheus is the wise mentor who shows him the way.
Now, this idea of a simulated world in the movie, it actually plugs right into a super old philosophical concept from Vedantic philosophy called Māyā. Māyā is this idea of a cosmic illusion, a veil that hides the true nature of reality from us. So, The Matrix, it's basically a high-tech version of Māyā.
And right there, that's the absolute key.
In the movie, the AI keeps everyone under control not just with force, but by hijacking the deep, archetypal stories that we humans use to find meaning and freedom. It literally turns our own psychological operating system into a prison.
Okay, so philosophy, ancient history, movies, what does any of this have to do with us? Right here, right now. Well, the stakes are incredibly high. This whole thing is forcing us to ask some really tough questions about what makes our own contribution to the world uniquely human.
Well, let's talk money, because the numbers are just staggering. A PwC analysis projects that AI could boost the global GDP by an insane $15.7 trillion by 2030. This isn't some niche tech trend. It's one of the biggest economic opportunities of our lifetime.
But here's the thing, that massive prize, it's not going to be shared equally. Projections show China could see its economy boosted by over 26%, while North America is looking at around 14.5%. This is a global race with huge consequences for who leads the future.
And all of this massive economic shift, this wave of automation, it forces us to ask a really fundamental question. In a world that's getting filled up with AI-generated art, music, code, and everything else, what is the unique value of something made by a human? Well, the answer might be something people are starting to call the human premium. It's this idea that as machines get more and more perfect, we're going to start placing a higher value on things made by people, specifically because of their imperfections, because of their authenticity, because you can feel what one person called the trace of the person in the work.
And that idea, well, it just blows the doors open on all these crazy new ethical questions. I mean, what happens to the idea of authenticity when we can use AI to create synthetic memories for therapy? And what do we lose if AI, which is trained on the world as it is, can't replicate those truly revolutionary spiritual experiences that challenge the status quo? And of course, all of this is running on models that can easily reinforce the cultural biases baked right into their data.
And that brings us full circle, right back to that quote from the drunk AI. Maybe the most important question isn't just about what we're building. It's about whether we'll even notice the moment we stop designing AI and start redesigning ourselves to fit it. It's a thought that leaves you wondering, in the end, who's really transforming who?